What are you looking forward to? Tennessee and LSU.
It's the biggest game in the SEC, I think, which is kind of funny with the CBS schedule. Now, I actually do get it with scheduling that'll take place later on as the season goes along, but this is a really big game for both teams and programs. The position that Tennessee's in, 4-0, chance to get to 5-0, chance to be 5-0 with Alabama coming to town. Huge opportunity for Tennessee. For LSU, year one with Brian Kelly, lost that opener. Everybody's talking about, this program, what position is it in? Where's this thing headed? If they're able to get another win and get a top 10 win as an underdog, that would do a lot for LSU. So this means a lot for both teams, both programs. Of course, Tennessee fans more focused on what it means for Tennessee, and it means big opportunities ahead. If the Vols can get a win in Baton Rouge and be 5-0, and next week it'll be big either way. It'll be massive if the Vols are unbeaten with Bama coming to town.
Yeah, no kidding. It's just kind of funny, and it just goes to show the overreaction from everybody. After this happens, but after that loss to FSU in the opening week on the national stage, and you saw them not utilizing Keyshawn Boutte, you saw the social media scrubbing, all that type of stuff. It was like the world was ending. But again, since then, you've had 2 come from behind wins in the SEC. And that, to me, Josh, that says there's some buy-in to this new coaching staff, a lot of resiliency with this team that has always had talent. We knew it had talent. It's just not a whole lot of depth.
Yeah, we'll see how the season plays out, but this is probably the latest example of don't overreact to what you see in the first week. Remember the Florida LSU results. Like, well, I don't know that Florida's that good, and I don't know that LSU's that bad. Resilient is the word to describe LSU to this point because they almost beat Florida State coming back. They obviously could have lost to Auburn, falling down 17-0, but we saw big comebacks in both games from LSU. They still have talent. They have talented players that can make difference, that can have difference-making plays on the field, like John Emery, a long catch and run, like B.J. Ojolari, who's a player that Tennessee's coaching staff, I promise, will be preparing for this week. Defenders on the other side of the ball that can run and make plays. That is something that Tennessee will have to be prepared for this week. Also, speaking of how we react, don't overreact to what Jaden Daniels didn't do in the passing game, just like we may have overreacted a little bit to what Anthony Richardson couldn't do entering the game in Knoxville. But Tennessee has pass rush ability to get to the quarterback, and as long as they don't allow Daniels to run too much and pick up too many first downs, because that will be something that's talked about going into the game, I promise, Tennessee's defense can make some plays against LSU, but they've got talent at receiver, and I think that LSU will be better than they were throwing the football against Auburn.
All right, so that talented wide receiver you're mentioning, Keyshawn Boutte, is the guy coming into the season, preseason All-American. You and I have talked about him on numerous occasions. In 4 games, he's missed 1 game. In 4 games, he's got 11 receptions for 97 yards and no touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell? Like, what's going on now? He'll go for 2 scores and 100 plus on Saturday. I'm sure of it. But what is the issue there? He's the best player on the football field. Why are they not getting him the football?
Well, he's appeared frustrated at times. That was the case in the Florida State game before the social media scrubbing that you referenced. And that's one reason that people had the after the game responses. They watched him in the game and saw Jaden Daniels having to go talk to him. We've seen that this season. He had a drop on Saturday. He's not been the focal point. It has appeared within the offense, but nothing has changed that I can tell in terms of his talent. And I promise that down there, they're telling him, hey, this can be a week where you kind of break out. This is your chance to put up some numbers.
Talking about an opportunity.
It's knocking now for Boutte. So I would say that that's something that Tennessee staff is well aware of, that they're going to try to get him involved this week. Expect that. They have talent at the position. Neighbors. They have the freshman Taylor, who's very talented, that will be a weapon in the passing game. Beck is somebody that I think they still trust in the passing offense. So, Daniels, let's see what they ask him to do. I imagine out of the backfield, they'll look at running backs with an opportunity against Tennessee's linebackers. That'll be something that's talked about. But that was the biggest concern, if that's the right description, biggest question mark coming out of the Florida game is, hey, what happened with our pass defense? What's going on with the secondary? We have the Warren Burrell news, D. Williams coming back, being available. More questions right now remaining. Let's see if we get some answers if Tennessee has improved this upcoming week, because there will be a test there. Despite Daniels not being the best passing quarterback in the SEC, neither was Richardson. You saw the result there. Tennessee needs to avoid Daniels being able to do what Richardson did.
Josh Ward, little Ward Wednesday action right here on Locked On Vols. One of the most intriguing storylines I have for this week, of course, Hendon Hooker, the passing game with Tennessee. That secondary for LSU, that defense for LSU so far has been really good. I understand 2 blowout wins. It skews the stats a little bit, but defense giving up 14.8 points per game, looking good. But that secondary, you got Jay Ward, who leads the team in tackles. He's at safety. He's an LSU guy, but 2 safety transfers from Arkansas, and Joe Faucia and Greg Brooks. Faucia had 75 tackles a season ago. Brooks was a 3-year starter for Arkansas. 3 cornerback transfers. Savion Banks, who actually was injured on that first play of the game. He's a transfer from Ohio State who had 15 starts in his career coming into this year. Mekhi Garner, who had 19 starts at Louisiana. And Jarrah Bernard Converse, who had 47 straight starts entering the season at Oklahoma State. I mean, it's patchwork, but it's a group that is experienced in the back end. How will that group combat a Hendon Hooker? We'll see if Cedric Tillman goes this week. I still think it's slim odds there. But Brew McCoy, Jalen Hyatt, Hendon Hooker, I'm intrigued to see what that looks like because, again, defense has been good, but they've not seen a challenge like they're going to see. They saw Will Rogers, but this will be a different type of challenge with Hendon Hooker in Tennessee.
Yep. By the way, that's a secondary where Tennessee fans are saying, "Hey, can we do that this offseason? Bring some guys in." And recruiting, by the way, is a factor there too. Bring in some guys that they will hope push next year in the secondary. But as far as this matchup, let's see. Brooks made a game changing or saving, however you want to describe it, play the other night against Auburn, where they were able to read what was coming, and he went and literally took the football away from a receiver who was about to make a nice play to continue the drive late. So they have guys that they've seen a lot on the football field, so their experience probably matters there. I still wonder, you're in the first half of a season, chemistry, communication. Banks is a really talented player who's not available. He was a maybe third-team preseason All-American last year at Ohio State, and you think about the competition there in the secondary. But let's see in this matchup against Tennessee's wide receivers, which will, I think, most likely not include Cedric Tillman. Like right now, plan for him to not be available. So Ramel Keaton, Brew McCoy, Jalen Hyatt, who can run. Let's see the physical matchup with Brew McCoy, who's really been important for Tennessee. Not necessarily prolific compared to Cedric Tillman and what he was able to do and the number of targets and attention, but Brew's a player that needed to step up against Florida and made important plays against Pittsburgh. So I don't think going on the road they'll be affected by that part, but there's more talent probably back there, and doesn't mean that they can't make mistakes and that they won't have a busted coverage or two. But Florida made some just devastating mistakes defensively. I don't necessarily expect that from LSU, but Josh Heupel's really good. It was interesting, Brian Kelly in his press conference talking about Tennessee, as fast as the Vols go, doesn't see as much motion, and that should allow his team to line up. But I don't think it's that easy. You can still get some players confused on that side of the ball if Tennessee's going really quickly, because you have to make smart decisions in a hurry. The experience helps. Is the communication there? That would be one of the questions I have on LSU side going in.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering this, Roger Clemens. But wasn't the busted play from Trey Dean when Brew went for 70 yards, wasn't that off motion?
I don't recall. Maybe so. Maybe it was, and it led to confusion on the back end. From
just going to say,
side.
Like, Tennessee will motion still.
Yeah, for sure. You had, Jacob Warren was simply lined up in the backfield and was lost right when he ran down the seam, if I remember the play correctly, and Florida just didn't find him there. So, that kind of mistake I would not expect from LSU. I thought when Brian Kelly made the comment that he did without going back and breaking down percentages, that seemed to oversimplify what Tennessee does offensively. I don't think it's that easy, but there's talent on LSU side defensively. Ojulari is a difference maker up front, and that'll be a factor containing him, making sure that he can't get to Hendon Hooker. One of the most important things, I think, pretty obviously, will be protecting Hendon both in the pocket and him protecting himself running the football, because that's just a factor in Tennessee's offense. Can the Vols run the ball? And how involved is Hendon running the ball against LSU's defense that can run and can hit?
Yep, B.J. Ojulari is an issue. You got to neutralize him. A lot of six-man protections, I would assume, and maybe that won't be enough, but we will find out. Josh, I know it's midway through the week, and I know you might be saving this for later in the week, but any thoughts on a win-loss prediction for Saturday?
I lean Tennessee. I'm not dead set on a prediction, honestly, because preseason I thought LSU. I do think it helps that the game's early, but that doesn't make it easy for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Kicking the game off early. I just think that compared to playing later, it's more favorable for Tennessee considering the alternative. But my prediction is that it's going to be a weird game. Couple of wild things are going to happen that change it one way or the other, and I think it comes down to the wire. So, could Tennessee go down there and win by a couple of touchdowns? I guess so, but considering the way the Pittsburgh game went and considering how Tennessee had to fight until the very end against Florida on the road against a team that sees a big opportunity on LSU side, I lean Tennessee right now, but I'll have a final pick late in the week. Weird action is my prediction for this game.
As your coworker would say, it's kegs and eggs time, baby. 11 a.m. local time kick. That being Tyler Ivans. If you didn't get the arrogance from that comment, that's definitely an Ivans quote there. Josh,
yeah, I'm more on the beignet side, by the way. Beignets, some coffee to kick this early game off.
Of course,
you dad of three and me, talking about it, yeah, and maybe the Admiral way too.
Josh, appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you.